So, now we begin the upward climb. One climbs perceptively. How do you know you are climbing? By what your senses tell you only? Perhaps. But the climb that is true leaves you further ahead than you were before. I have a mere suggestion to make. It is this, that as we commune this eve, as you hear my voice, that you see within your mind's eye a flame, a flickering flame, or a still one, as it suits you. If you lose sight of this flame, you have but to open your eyes and look at the flame upon the mantle. Regain the focus. Then take it from the mantle within yourself and watch it. For you may watch it while you are listening, and so experience the twain. The flame, the fire of life, has been revered for centuries as that upon which to focus, for far too many reasons to enumerate here. Suffice it to say, it is the very breath of God made visible for your use and your purification. I am come this night to speak of a subject sweet in my sight, and that is hierarchy. Yes, that structure which exists in all form, in all nature, and in all creation as far as I know. What is it? It is the ascending and descending of angels. It is that great and holy feeling one gets when one gazes upon one's teacher. And it is that deep compassion that comes from being deep with one's own student. Hierarchy indeed, little understood in the West, a way of life in the East. In any given area, there will always be your hierarch, the one who looms above you, from whose sight you may attain grace and benefits. It is but the immature who resent this thing, those who have not yet outgrown the arrogance that comes from ignorance, and would always be the leader of the pack. I am comforted, beloved, to know that there are 20 trillion leaders before me. This way, I am unlikely to lose my way. And what if I told you that you are part of that holy procession, that following you in the long, long, long chain of evolution are countless life forms who look to you as God. It is so. It is so. I sit with gods, for I am a God, and we have gods before us. Is it not beautiful? And yet I say hierarchy is misunderstood, very misunderstood in the West. For here you find yourself paying obeisance to those who do not lead, but actually should be following you. And to those who do lead, and in truth are your hierarchs, you pay no mind at times, ignoring them, at times criticizing them as well. Ah, let there be a mighty healing in this land, and let it come from the west unto the east. Dear ones, in any given department of life, you will not only have your hierarch, but be one as well. Come to see with eyes that are clear which is which. For instance, in holy India, where these things are clearly understood for the most part, it is understood that the lady of the house keeps that temple beautiful and clean. And those that enter there as guests immediately honor her as the hierarch. They would not think of asking her to do anything for them except the merest favor. They would assume that she would encompass this and that her grace would encompass them. And usually it is so. She is the hierarch of her own temple, her home, and you as guests then honor her for that. But the moment she steps out of there, you are as equals in the street until she enters your home. And then, of course, you are the hierarch then, you see. One must be willing to see and understand the situation to be appropriate in its ethics. If you are a doctor of dentistry, and I know nothing of this science, then obviously you are my hierarch. But if as a dentist you begin to preach to me about the ascension ray, I shall have words to say. My dear ones, it is of vital importance that you grasp this, for in grasping it, you have the key to harmonious human relationships. You who have spoken of problems with others, you who have offended or been offended, these have all come from blindness of hierarchical structure and nothing else. For if you understand and grasp this plainly, you will see to whom you are accountable and who is accountable to you. To the former you will be respectful, and to the latter gracious. So be it. So be it always. For I tell you that until you grasp this lesson cleanly, you may not enter the plains of heaven. And this is not exclusion by the divine hand, but simply a matter of vibrational realities that persist and endure always in the invisible worlds. One automatically resonates and thus inhabits that realm to which one most appropriately belongs, neither higher, neither lower. So come to see then the various roles that you play during the day, and come to discern in each one whether you be hierarch or whether you stand before he or she who is your hierarch. This would imply, dear ones, that in the marketplace the same endures, of course. You work, you say. You have your occupation, you say. It pays your bills, you say. All is well. But I tell you that she or he who is your employer is, of course, your hierarch. And to harbor resentment against this one goes against your own sacred heart. If you find yourself resenting your hierarch, you must stop, look deeply, and question wherein lies your resentment and your resistance to the law. If your hierarch you believe and discern is unjust, if your hierarch you believe is perhaps a dense fellow, an ignorant lady, then the thing to do is to distance yourself from that position before you resent them wholeheartedly. Come to see then that resentment has no place in Ascension's holy path. When you find yourself resenting, it is simply your symptom of a blind spot within. No shame need accomplish this. No embarrassment need accompany it. Instead, know clearly that it is within you that this puzzle shall be solved. Ah, come then, cleansing waters, and clear away those things that stand before our sight. I honor you, O sylphs, who come in response to my call for cleansing. For such is your obedience, and such shall be your rewards. As they do their sacred work, I accept them as my hierarchs, and I am silently grateful for the cleansing that comes as fulfillment of my decree. I speak again of Mother India. It is known there that what to Westerners is but an Oriental prejudice is the ancient tradition of greeting each other, not so much with touch as with the hands held together, palm to palm, in this fashion. Generally accompanied with the word Namaskar or Namaste. I ask that when you come together for the purpose and duration of these sessions, that you greet each other in this fashion from this point forward. Outside of this place, you may do as you will. Our purpose, after all, is not to draw attention to ourselves or our ways, but here within this temple, we can honor one another by a deliberate honoring of the divine flame within each one. Save your embraces for other times, any times outside of this temple and this particular experience. We fulfill this night the first side of the pyramid. There be 3 yet remaining, each one approximately the duration of a month, so that your months of December, January and February will fulfill the decree, and the 4 sides are complete, the foundation set, and things in motion. Hold you the flame, dear one, or are you forgetting? The words of the Master Jesus ring in my ears when upon the last evening of his earthly life, he asked a few to watch with him and pray. But sleep was heavy upon them, and they could not. There is one thing that you must gain, and that is control of attention before any progress can be made. Be not ashamed of how little control you currently possess. Be not embarrassed that you are as infants in this work. But begin now, toddlers all, and hold your attention upon the inner flame, whilst you listen to my words. You can do the twain. And so we begin the climb, the upward climb towards discipline. Hierarchy involves as well coming to know that in those things you hold most dear as to your interests in this life. Your hierarchs are certainly your teachers, and demand your respect, though they speak it not, neither ask for it. Learn to seek your hierarchs in life. Know who they are, and those to whom ye be as hierarchs, though they treat you indifferently. Each of you here has a specific spiritual hierarch whom you cannot see with eyes that are mortal. This is not a guide. Neither your loved ones who hover about when they can. There is one, just one, that is directly before you, greater than you in realizations, with whom you are not in physical contact, but who looms large in the inner world above you. This one knows you and your name. This one has granted your prayers. This one has protected you upon occasion. And yet this one is not limited in their views, and simultaneously are with you and with others as well. Such shall be your mission when you graduate from these earth bodies again. The chain is unbroken, whether in flesh or out of it. The subject of hierarchy is the foundation stone of the great white brotherhood and its teachings throughout the ages. Come to know your teachers. You have only to think of them, to draw their attention. You have only to call to them to engage their direct assistance. And to prove my point, I share a brief tale with you. There was once a young man a generation ago who began to call to me without even knowing my name. Someone had gifted him with a pyramid, and he gazed at it often, sensed its innate power, and began to think, intuit, that there must be some magic connected with this pyramid. For he had read little about pyramidology or Egyptology. But his heart told him there is magic here, and he called it forth. And he used the phrase, genie of the pyramid. He called and he called and he called, persistently, in that he was desirous of furthering his own career. It wasn't long before the vibratory effect of his calls reached mine own ears. I could not resist. I gazed upon him. He sensed my presence and my sight. And he said, Genie of the pyramid, at last I have your attention. Help me to create. Help me to inspire, to do that which is different and above and beyond what others have done. By law, you see, as his hierarch, which he had made himself subservient to, I had to comply, and I did obey, And I did put in his mind and heart a quickening ray of the whitest light, which he assimilated. And it caused him to receive what he called inspiration. And in that he was a musician, and is yet, he turned it into music. It went out, but on a very specific frequency. Many heard it not, but those that heard it did not forget it. The medium through whom I speak was one of these. And recently, very recently, as a foreshadowing of my coming, I caused that music to come again into his hands. And lo, he shared it. Some heard it, some heard it not. A copy of that music is within this home. Perhaps you shall hear of it this night. These things I share with you, that you might see the intimacy of hierarchy. Make it your own. Be intimate with us, for we long to be intimate with you. But impose ourselves we shall not. Yet we come in a moment's twinkling, when the call is sincere. I have returned from the great God star, Sirius, and there we have held counsel, and you, beloved, may be surprised to know that I spoke of your little group. It did not surprise me to know that all the others knew of it in advance. A seed, a kernel, a beginning, a germination. These things seldom tell of future glories when they are beginning. You sit, and I am here with you, and together we are in agreement that ye shall all ascend beautifully in the perfect moment already designated within the mind of God. I alert you now to that thing called your will, that thing which is as a muscle that you would be well advised to use and use often. And I ask you to turn your will, whilst not losing sight of the inner flame, upon your own molecular structure. You have only to think about it, to begin to sense it. With eyes closed, your thought upon your own frame, you should be able to sense the constant movement, not unlike that of a flame. And it is the pattern of molecules that would seem to hold you in the form that you have chosen. Will your attention upon your own molecular structure now. Sense it, feel it, intuit that of which I speak, and then, my dears, will yourselves to quicken, for this is within reach of all. Yes, use your will, find that muscle, and direct it towards yourself, and your own evolution. Hold the flame within yourself and cause that flame to grow now and to burst into yet a greater flame, and hold it there. Quicken yourselves, my dears. Quicken now. Accelerate by will. You alone have the authority to do this thing, and I ask that you do it. Lighten your load then. Bring yourself to higher and yet higher and yet higher octaves. Oh yes, is there a limit? Not that I can see. Yes. Quicken yourselves, my dears. Quicken yourselves, my dears. Quicken yourselves. Until quicker still you move. Now quicker. Now again. And once again. And yet again. Quicken now. Quicken now. By inner attainment. Quicken your flame. Will it so? Nothing can stop it. Nothing. Nothing in cosmos. All is in God's keeping, and yet ye are that God. Enjoy. Practice it often. Watch the words that issue forth from your mouths. Let them be sweet as tinkling crystal. Put away those thoughts that diminish your integrity, and seek to quicken yourselves as often as you like. Perhaps we have begun a new habit pattern this night. Perhaps I have put your foot on the bottom rung of a ladder that will reach you into heaven. Tat Sat Raise yourselves until the capstone, the very capstone itself, is your place of identity.